Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Get to Know My Taste tag. I'm Tally, and today we're going to do the Get to Know My Taste tag made by these wonderful creators here. I will link them down below, and let's just get into it. So the first question is, how do you rate books? And I have gone through a bit of a journey on how I rate books, and I have settled on vibes. I rate them entirely on how I feel when I finished a book. Sometimes it's a critical decision, sometimes it's an emotional decision, sometimes it is just purely vibes. Sometimes I don't remember anything about the book, but I remember that I liked it, so that's that. Um, I'm probably not the best person to follow for critical reviews. How do you approach reviewing books? So this one, I've done scripting them in the past, and sometimes I just spew what I think. It really depends on the book and what kind of mood I'm in, how chaotic I guess I'm feeling in the moment. Sometimes if I want to get a review out for a book, it just has to be do it now because this is the only time you've got, and if I've not written down any thoughts, then I've not written them down and it just literally comes out. But generally I try and do a quick synopsis of the book, and then I go into whatever it was about the book I want to talk about, whether it's the characters, the writing style, the atmosphere, the plot, etc. There's no kind of set list of what I want to talk about, and I've seen a few people on book threads in particular talk about how angry they are when people do like a synopsis in a review. Personally, I like it when people give reviews tell me a little bit about the book, because it could be a book I've never heard of before, so I don't just want to hear them say, oh, the writing was this and that and blah, blah, blah. I want to know what the book's about as well, because if the book sounds interesting, I'm going to be more interested in what their review is. That's just my like personal process. So what's the book that made you a reader? I wouldn't say there's like a book. I've always been a reader. I've had moments where I've dropped off, life's got in the way, or other hobbies have been more interesting to me. I would say that the book that really sticks in my mind is when I was 14. I had a emergency appendix removal. My grandparents' neighbour got me a book and I was obsessed with it, and it's called Beyond the Deep Woods, and I became obsessed with this series. I've read it multiple times, or at least the first couple of trilogies. I've not read the most recent trilogies in the series, but I would definitely say that this is one of those books that I look back on the most fondly as a book that got me into reading, kind of in the way that I read today. But prior to then, I did read a lot as a child and an early teen, but that one in particular, that one sticks in my mind, and it will often be the book that I would answer this question with. Do I have a genre niche? And no, I don't really. I tend to gravitate towards horror and fantasy, and lately I've been really enjoying some romantasy as well. I quite enjoy all subgenres of fantasy, from like cozy fantasy to epic fantasy. It's just what mood I'm in, and away we go. Horror wise, I would say again, I tend to give all subgenres a horror try, although the one subgenre I don't gravitate towards unless I've had something recommended to me is splatterpunk. But I would say generally I'm quite broad in my reading. As I've got more into romantasy, I have definitely become more open to romance as well. So contemporary romance has started to have a slot on my TBR, definitely. Do I prefer character or plot driven stories? And the answer to this is actually kind of neither. I'm very much a atmosphere person, so I'm completely comfortable reading what some people would say are plotless books or aimless books or like low plot if the atmosphere is right. And it's the same as I'm so happy to read books that are very plot heavy with underdeveloped characters, as long as the essence of it is working for me. That's what I want. I want, if it's a dark academia book, I want to be able to feel the library. I want to be able to feel the academy, the school, wherever it's based. You know, I want that. I wanna hear the like rustling of the pages kind of thing. If I'm reading a book set in the bayou, I want to feel like, I want the writing to feel humid and mucky, and yeah, that's what I want. I want a book with atmosphere, and the atmosphere is what I refer to as the vibes quite often. That's what stays with me after I finish the book. What's the one book that I love so much that if someone doesn't like it, I know I'll read and taste down the line? For me, that is the Picture of Dorian Gray. I think that there is nothing about this book to dislike, basically. It is dark academia before that was a subgenre. It just captures the essence of like losing oneself to something so well, and I think anyone who reads it and doesn't enjoy that, I just don't think that we're going to vibe very well. It is so beautifully written. I mean, it's Oscar Wilde's first and potentially only novel, and it reads like it reads as poetry. It's beautiful. The queer subtext is amazing, and I just think it is such a good book. And I think it's one of those classics that really, really holds up. And I think if you really dislike it, we probably don't have a lot in common reading wise. And then what is a book that I love so much that I don't care if other people like it or not? And for me, that is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. This is one of those books that encompasses everything I've already spoken about. So it is almost plotless. It's very low plot. It's very high feelings. It's the atmosphere. The boarding school where it's set is almost a character in its own right. Our main character kind of has no clue of what's happening at any time, and she does very little to try and find out what's going on. She kind of just lets the plot happen to her, and she just doesn't care. She just kind of meanders through the book, but I love it, and I love the atmosphere that Elizabeth Thomas builds, and I really want them to write another book, because this came out in like 2020, and I need another book. I need another book. But I understand why people wouldn't like it, or why this book wouldn't be for other people. I think you're missing out, but I understand. What's in your trash pocket? I have tried really hard to think about what this could be. I don't really have a trope or anything like that that could go into this. I guess the whole like fated mates could be one of these. I mean, logically, I hate this trope. It's not one for me. I like the idea of characters fighting to be together because they love each other, not because they are like bound to be together by something outside of their control. I want them to choose to be together. But I do read a lot of books with the fated mate trope, because it is quite a common trope, especially in fae romancy, and there's a lot of fae romancy out there, and I do pick up a lot of it. So I would say that that is a trope that I'm not a huge fan of, but I read a lot of it for being someone that's not a huge fan of it. Do I have any deal breakers in books? Is there anything that turns me off a book? And a trope that people just seem to throw out there without actually giving thought as to whether their book or the book they're reading actually does encompass this trope is enemies to lovers. This is a trope that I really enjoy, and a lot of books marketed with it are not enemies to lovers. So I always take this with a very large, you know, very, very large disbelief when I see it listed. I just find, well, firstly, if people use it in terms of anything contemporary set, I know that it is not enemies to lovers, for starters, unless possibly it was like mob related or something. I guess you could, if it was a dark romance, and I guess you could stretch it then, but that's not a subgenre I tend to go to. If we're talking about a book that's fantasy or romancy, I want them to be actual enemies. Like, they want to kill each other, they actually genuinely want to murder one another, and then they're like forced to work together and then they fall in love or something like that. If it's just, oh, they dislike each other a little bit, it's not enemies to lovers, like, stop it, basically, is all I'm saying with that. Stop it. What is a strong opinion you have on a book that was released within the last year? And this is kind of a little bit tweaking this, but Andrew Joseph White, the author, deserves more love. He had Compound Fracture come out within the last year, and it was fantastic, and I did not see enough people talking about it. He also has had Hell Started With Us, and The Spirit Bears Its Teeth, and I just think he does not get the appreciation that he deserves. His writing is so compelling, and he is writing about these characters that are so interesting and so diverse, and they're just trying to get by in a world that is really like set against them. And I think for me, The Spirit Bears Its Teeth is my favourite of the three that he's currently got out that I've read. But Compound Fracture was so good, and I think especially in the current like political landscape of the USA, I think Compound Fracture is a great book to read, and I think more people should be picking it up. Okay, so the next question is, what do you look for in writing? And again, it's just the atmosphere, the building of the world, especially in fantasy, like the world building, the themes that it's trying to take apart, especially in horror. In horror in particular, I've started to really love grief horror, and anything set around motherhood and the horror that comes alongside being a mother, or like the postpartum horror. I think that's so good, and I love to see that delved into in a horror book. And so if a book has a theme that I'm interested in, I will definitely want to pick it up ASAP. And then if I hear that a book has good atmosphere, it's going on my TBR. How do you decide what to read next? Mine is very kind of random and organic, I guess, in that I try and do TBRs, but I'm not very good at following them, so it's very disorganized and chaotic. I tend to have a rough idea in my head of what I might like to pick up next, or I'm already picking it up despite being halfway through a book or whatever. Very much like shiny things can grab my attention if a book is being spoken about a lot and I'm thinking, oh yeah, right, that's in my head and I want to read it. And then other times it'll be, I'll just go on, like if it's an audiobook I'm looking for, I'll just go and see what's available on my library app. So there's no real organisation or rhyme and reason to it. It's just, here we go. Where do you get inspiration for your booktube content? Despite me consuming a lot of booktube, I would say that a lot of my ideas come from BookTok as opposed to booktube. There'll be things that I'll see or a trend and I'm like, I want to do that, but I don't know how to fit it into a short video, so we're going to come over here and do it. If I could make any book go viral right now, what would it be? I have 3 books for this that are recent reads that I think more people should be picking up. The first is Welcome to the Hanandong Bookshop This is a Korean translated book, and it really, I think it really beautifully encapsulates what it feels like to be caught in this toxic work culture that has been built due to capitalism. And it really, there was loads of points where I just kind of stopped and had to think, because it was just, there were so many points where I was like, yeah, why is my brain wired that way? Because it doesn't feel natural. Why this is based on Korean work culture, which is slightly different to what I'm used to in the UK. But I feel like it made so many good points that were really relatable, and it just highlights how poorly we have set up our society in terms of actually looking after people and giving people the space to find out what they enjoy in life. The other book is Dragon Fruit, and this is a YA fantasy, and it was just such a fun book. It was a real joy to read. It is very much inspired by Pacific Islander mythology, and we follow some sea dragons, and it asks the question of like, it highlights, like being careful what you wish for. And I just thought it was such an enjoyable book. It's a standalone, and I was actually quite sad when it came to an end. Even though I was excited going in that it was a standalone, by the end I wanted more. But it was so fun, and I just think the characters were really likable, and the world was so well developed. And I can picture I could picture it being a really fun TV show as well. So I think just more people should pick that up if it sounds interesting to them. Finally, Songs for Ghosts was another recent read that I wish more people would be aware of. This is a historical historical fantasy romance. It goes across a lot of genres. It's inspired by Madame Butterfly, and we follow a 17-year-old Japanese American boy who is like trying to learn more about his Japanese heritage, because he's grown up in America with his dad and his stepmom, who are both American, and he feels really kind of not part of the family. And then he discovers a diary, and he starts reading about this woman in Japan so many years ago, and he decides he wants to try and return the diary to her family. And he does end up having the opportunity to go to Japan, and ends up actually in the town where, or the town next to, no, ends up in the town where the diary author was living at the time of writing her diary. And we have ghost elements, and it is just such a beautiful emotional book. It hit me in the feels a lot, this one. I really loved it, and I wish more people would check it out. So let's talk about some booktubers with reading tastes that are similar to me. So in terms of like weird books, I would say Kayla from Books and Lala it was a very good match for what a lot of weird books I enjoy. And then if we look at like fantasy, I would say Gav from Gavin Reads It All, Joel from Fictional Fates, Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy, and Murphy from Murphy Napier. I would say that they all encompass various fantasy elements that I enjoy and get along with. And then in terms of horror, Lexi is definitely aligned with a lot of the horror I enjoy. And yeah, I think they're a good mixture of various kind of genres and subgenres that I enjoy. So that is the Get to Know My Taste tag. Thank you so much for joining me today. Apologies for the dodgy lighting. My ring light is not on, so Yes. I hope that you have a wonderful day wherever you are. If you liked this video, please like, please subscribe. If you would like to see more content from me, I am now going to be uploading twice a week, so there is a lot coming your way. And thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know in the comments any booktubers I should check out, and I'll see you soon. Bye.